Hello everybody, welcome to my Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow EDH deck tech. Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow is a 3-mana 1/3 with Commander Ninjutsu. With this ability, you can pay a blue and a black to return an unblocked creature you control to its owner's hand that's attacking, and you put this card onto the battlefield from your hand or the command zone, tapped and attacking. Yuriko also has the ability whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you reveal the top card of your library. You put that card into your hand, and each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So the whole object of this deck is to get a lot of ninjas attacking, and then I also want to manipulate the top of my deck, so there's some big cards at the top to deal a lot of damage to my opponents. So the first set of cards is the Mistcloaked Herald, which is 1 blue for a 1/1 that can't be blocked. Changeling Outcast, which is 1 black for a 1/1 that's a changeling, which is kind of important because it's a ninja, but it also can't be blocked, and it can't block. Slitherblade, which is 1 blue for a 1/2 that cannot be blocked. So next we have the Guttural Lurker, which is 1 blue for a 1/1 that can't be blocked. It also has Megamorph for 1 blue. Tormented Soul is 1 black for a 1/1 that can't block and is unblockable. Invisible Stalker is 1 and a blue for a 1/1 with hexproof, and it is unblockable. Thalakos is 2 blue for a 1/1 with shadow, and when it leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Inkfathom Witch is 1 and a Dimir hybrid mana for a 1/1 with fear, and you can pay 4, and each unblocked creature becomes a 4/1 until end of turn. Shadow Mage Infiltrator is 3 mana for a 1/3 with fear, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So all the cards that I just listed are very good because you can use these to ninjutsu any of your ninjas, most importantly Yuriko, and it's very good. These are some more cards that do very similar things. So Tetseko, Yumezawa Fugitive is 1 and a blue for a 1/3, legendary human rogue, and creatures you control with power 1 or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. So this can make a lot of your stuff unblockable, and it's very good. Next, the Dimir Infiltrator, which is 1 blue and 1 black for a 1/3, which is unblockable, and also has Transmute for 3, 1 and Dimir. Next is Triton Shorestalker, which is 1 blue for a 1/1 that cannot be blocked. So yet again, these are all very good cards. Next is Nether Trader, which has haste and shadow, so it basically can't be blocked. And it also has, whenever another creature is put into your graveyard from play, you may pay 1 black. If you do, return another trader from your graveyard to play. Next is Looter Ilkor, which is 1 and a blue for a 1/1 with shadow, and whenever it deals combat damage to whenever it just deals damage to an opponent, draw a card, then discard a card. Next is an Inkfathom Infiltrator, which is 2 Dimir hybrid mana for a 2/1 that can't block and is unblockable. Next is Throat Slitter, which is a 2/2 rat ninja with ninjutsu for 3, 2 and a black. Just saying, if you don't know what ninjutsu is you pay the cost next to the ninjutsu, and you return an unblocked attacker you control to your hand, and you put this card from the battlefield, onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and attacking. So this is very similar to Yuriko's ability, except that you won't be doing it from the command zone. And whenever Throat Slitter deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. Higure, the Stillwind, is 5 mana for a 3/4 with ninjutsu for 4, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a ninja card, reveal it, put it into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library. You can also pay 2 for target ninja to be unblockable. Just for that turn. Next is Ninja of the Deep Hours, which is 4 mana for a 2/2 with ninjutsu for 2. And whenever Ninja of the Deep Hours deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Next is Mist Syndicate Naga. This is 3 mana for a 3/1 with ninjutsu for 3. Oh, sorry. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of Mist Syndicate Naga. Next is Mistblade Shinobi, which is 3 mana for a 1/1 with ninjutsu for 1 blue. And whenever Mistblade Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature that player controls to its owner's hand. Next is Ingenious Infiltrator, which is 4 mana for a 2/3 with ninjutsu for 2. And whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Or just draw a card. Next is Fallen Shinobi. This is 5 mana for a 5/4 with ninjutsu for 4. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library, and until the end of that turn, you may play those cards without paying their mana costs. Next is Silent Blade Ani, which is a 7 mana 6/5 with ninjutsu for 6. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. You may cast a non-land card in it without paying its mana cost. Walker of the Secret Ways is a 3 mana 1/2 with ninjutsu for 2. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may look at that player's hand, and you can pay 2 to return a ninja you control to its hand, to its owner's hand, and you can activate this ability only during your turn. Okiba Gang Shinobi is 5 mana for a 3/2 with ninjutsu for 4, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards 2 cards. Next is Skull Snatcher. This is 2 mana for a 2/1 with ninjutsu for 1 black. And whenever Skull Snatcher deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 2 target cards from that player's graveyard. Ink Eyes, Servant of Ani, is 6 mana for a 5/4, but it has ninjutsu for 5. And whenever Ink Eyes, Servant of Ani, deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You can also pay 2 mana to regenerate Ink Eyes. Next is the Phantom Ninja, which is 3 mana for a 2/2 that cannot be blocked. Next card is Arza Smoke Shaper, which is a 4 mana 3/3 with ninjutsu for 2. And whenever it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Next, Throat Seeker is 3 mana for a 3/2 Vampire Ninja, and unblocked attacking ninjas you control have lifelink. Next is Moth Dust Changeling. It's 1 blue mana for a 1/1 Changeling, and you can tap an untapped creature you control for Moth Dust Changeling to get flying until end of turn. So then there's Universal Automaton, which is 1 generic mana for a 1/1 Changeling, and there's Arcane Adaptation, which is 3 mana, and when it enters for an enchantment, but when it enters you choose a creature type, and creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So this is really good because if all your creatures are ninjas, then that means that then Yuriko's ability triggers for all your creatures. Of course, if you name ninjas, and also all changelings are ninjas. That's why I showed you guys the Moth Dust Changeling and the Universal Automaton. The next 4 cards are all tutors that we can use to manipulate the top card of our deck. Because if you get a really, really big card, then you can probably win the game with Yuriko. So first there's Mystical Tutor, where for 1 blue it's an instant, and you tutor for a sorcery or instant, and you put it on the top of your deck, then shuffle, but with it on the top of your deck. There's Scheming Symmetry for 1 black for sorcery, and you choose 2 target players. You would choose yourself, and of course an opponent, probably that's furthest back in the game. And so you both search your library for a card, and then you shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Imperial Seal and Vampiric Tutor are the same thing, but Vampiric Tutor is instant, and Imperial Seal is a sorcery. And they're both 1 black, and you search your library for a card, shuffle your library, put that card on top of it, and you lose 2 life. So the next cards that I'll be showing are the big cards that probably will win you the game. So these are all cards that can let you take extra turns. So first we have Time Warp, which is 5 mana for a sorcery that lets target player take an extra turn after this one. Karn's Temporal Sundering, which is 6 mana for a legendary sorcery, and target player takes an extra turn after this one, and return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, exile Karn's Temporal Sundering. Next is Temporal Mastery, which is 7 mana for a take a turn after this one, and then you exile it, but it also has a miracle for 2. Next is Temporal Manipulation, which is 5 mana for a sorcery that lets you take an extra turn after this one. Part the Water Veil, which is 6 mana for take an extra turn, and then you exile it. It also has Awaken 6 for 9 mana, and then if you cast this spell for its Awakened cost, also put 6 +1/+1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 elemental with haste. It's still a land. Beacon of Tomorrows is an 8 mana sorcery where target player takes an extra turn, and then you shuffle it into its owner's library. Next is, so these cards, they're not take an extra turn cards, they're just cards that are very expensive, and if you get them, or you tutor for them, then it deals a lot of damage. A good example of this is Curse of the Cabal, which is 10 mana for a sorcery, and target player sacrifices half the permanents he or she controls rounded down. You can also suspend 2 for 4. And then at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if Curse of the Cabal is suspended, that player may sacrifice a permanent. If she or she does, put 2 time counters on Curse of the Cabal. Next card is Coastal Breach, which is 7 mana for a sorcery with Undaunted. So this spell costs 1 less for each opponent. So in a standard game of Commander, it would cost 3 less. And return all non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Next card is Expropriate. This card is 9 mana for a sorcery with the ability called Council's Dilemma. And so each player at the table, in like whatever way you want, votes for time or money. And then for each time, for when they say time, you take an extra turn after this one. And then whenever they say money, choose a permanent owned by the voter and you gain control of it, then you exile Expropriate. So these are all very cool cards. So these are some more very expensive cards. So Kindred Dominance is 7 mana for sorcery, and you choose a creature type and destroy all creatures that aren't the chosen type. So you can choose ninjas with this, and it just kills all the non-ninjas, which is very powerful. Next is Decree of Pain, which is 8 mana for a sorcery. You destroy all creatures, and they can't be regenerated. You draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. You can also cycle it for 5 mana. When you cycle it, all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. In Garrick's Wake is 9 mana for a sorcery, and you destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. So these are all so the next 3 cards are just some fun cards that I decided to add. So first is Thassa, the God of the Sea, which is 3 mana for a 5/5, indestructible god. And then as long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Thassa isn't a creature. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you scry 1, and you can pay 2 for target creature you control to not be blocked this turn. So this can make any creature unblockable, which is really good for ninjutsu. Next is Draco, which is 16 mana for a 9/9, and it costs 2 less to play for each basic land type among the lands you control. And it also has flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice him unless you pay 10. This cost is reduced by 2 for each basic land type among lands you control. And then, so that would be crazy if you got it on top of your deck. Next is Familiar's Ruse, which is 2 mana for an instant. And then as an additional cost to this, return a creature you control to its owner's hand and counter target spell. This is really good because you can return Ninja to your hand that has new ninjutsu, and you can just repeat the process. So that takes us to the end of the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!